Tonight, 600 pages of dirt, what you didn't know about Casey Anthony, interviews with investigators, twisted text messages, candid moments with family members, all of it making this strange case more weird. First on Fox, Cheryl Gatwiza in our newsroom. She's been digging through the stack of papers all night. A lot of interesting stuff in there.
That's right, Kale. Pages and pages worth of text messages from Casey Anthony to her loved ones didn't tell us as much as the interviews investigators conducted with friends and family members, especially her now ex-best friend, Amy Huizenga.
Amy Huizenga, once a very close friend of Casey Anthony, says she and others were fooled by her. Even Cindy Anthony had some harsh words about her daughter. In this newly released discovery, Amy told authorities Cindy told her, quote, Casey was an unfit mother and that if she goes on much longer, that she would sue for custody of Kaylee. She says Casey shouldn't have exposed Kaylee to all the partying and all the guys in her life. At one point, Amy told authorities Casey brought her daughter to a no-clothes party. Remember, Amy Huizenga has filed charges against Casey Anthony. She claims Casey stole checks from her and used them to buy things. The discovery also includes these text messages from Amy to a friend after Casey's second arrest. Quote, dude, she cleared my bank account out. I want that kid found and I will do anything for her family, but I'm done with her. Dude, you don't lie or lose your kid and pretend it didn't happen. I have a lot in common with her too. We were really close for months. You aren't crazy, she is.
Lee Anthony, of course, another key interview. He described to cops a stiff relationship between his mom and his sister. There's even more I'm still thumbing through coming up at 10:30. What Lee says is the explanation for the foul smell in Casey's car.
Cheryl, we should tell people that these documents are released under a media request, the media here in town requesting to look at those. Any word from Jose Baez, who's Casey's attorney, regarding what we just reported?
Well, a spokesperson for Jose Baez says it's no surprise the state released the discovery. He says it's just another example of the cops trying to make Casey look bad instead of looking for Kaylee. Now, Baez himself didn't have any comments tonight, though, Kale.
Cheryl, thank you.
What you didn't know, but certainly wanted to hear about Casey Anthony.
We're talking 600 pages of straight up dirt. You already know about the naked party. Now hear about the stench in the trunk. First on Fox, Cheryl Gatwiza back to fill us in on more of her research throughout the day.
Of course, the most telling interview comes from Casey's brother, Lee. He talks about the rift between his mom and sister and the explanation Casey gave for the stench in her car.
Ask any of Casey's friends and they'll tell you Casey and her family didn't always get along. Family members say the same thing. A newly released prosecution discovery shows investigators ask Lee Anthony, quote, there's a genuine wedge between your mother and your sister, isn't there? Lee says, quote, I know my mother has said she has on numerous occasions to me. She feels Casey has some sort of resentment to my mother, that my mother has been the provider for Kaylee, even down to the extent that my mother was the first person to hold Kaylee when she came out of the womb. But one of the more interesting points is when Lee tries to get to the bottom of the stench in his sister's car. Lee told authorities the smell was so bad, he asked his sister about it, and she told him, quote, well, it actually started around Mom's birthday when 2 dead squirrels crawled up under the hood of the car, you know, and they died in there. But Lee told deputies he didn't buy that story because she said it happened around June 5th at Cindy's birthday party. If it did, someone, especially his dad, would have smelt it too. Quote, my dad specifically because he always enjoys to clean the cars, especially on the weekends. I mean, he details the cars inside and out.
At another point, Lee says he didn't believe the story because he didn't think Casey would expose Kaylee to that atrocious smell driving around for days. Karina?
Cheryl, thank you. And with all these new documents, Fox 35 is the best place to keep everything straight in the search for Kaylee Anthony.
Fox News Channel Senior Judicial Analysis Judge Andrew Napolitano weighing in now on the documents in his interview only on Fox.
Well, when documents like this are released by the police and when they add to our curiosity rather than satisfy it, we normally presume that the police are releasing it to sort of provoke a response from someone. But these were not released by the police. These were released by the prosecuting authorities pursuant to a Freedom of Information request, which under Florida law requires them to release that which they do not intend to present to a grand jury. So if you read through all 591 pages, there are gaps in there, and we can conclude that in the pages they didn't release, they're going to present to a grand jury. Now, what they did release is gossipy. It provides innuendo. You can wonder why she was waking up in the middle of the night with cold sweats. Is it because she knows that her daughter is dead? These are natural inferences that one can draw. But the law allows the public to look at this stuff, and look at it we have.
Her mom took her to a clothing optional party. Just one bombshell in the nearly 600 pages worth of surprises in the search for Caylee Anthony. Today, prosecutors released a huge pile of transcripts of text messages and police interrogations, mainly involving the mom, Casey. First on Fox, Cheryl Gattuiza spent the day and night reading through all those papers. She's got more information. Cheryl?
Pages and pages of evidence, nearly 600, but the most revealing comes from Amy Huizenga, Casey's ex-best friend. She says Cindy Anthony was sick of Casey's partying. And there's one more thing Amy remembered Cindy talking about. That's the smell in Casey's car.
Around mid-June to mid-July, Amy Huizenga tells investigators in the state's discovery, Cindy Anthony grew increasingly concerned when she hadn't heard from Casey or Caylee in about a month. Amy says it scared Cindy that the smell in Casey's car was bad news, quote, that it was either Caylee or Casey stuffed in the trunk. When Cindy and George got to the tow yard July 15th, the smell from the trunk was horrible. Amy goes on to tell investigators, quote, until they got the trunk open, that's what they were afraid of, yes. Remember this, Cindy's frantic call about the smell in Casey's car?
And it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
But Cindy changed her statement soon afterwards, saying the smell was actually rotten pizza.
When investigators spoke with Lee Anthony, he gave a different story about the smell in the car. He says Casey told him 2 squirrels crawled under the hood and died in there. Lee, of course, didn't buy that story. Kayla.
That's another new one we haven't heard. Cheryl, Amy Huizenga here, who supposedly was, if not Casey's best friend, one of her best friends. She's the one that had the money stolen with the check. She's decided to go ahead and press the charges. That's why Casey's been back in jail here and back a couple of times. Is this the end of their friendship, or was that the end of their friendship?
Well, absolutely. Amy sent some text messages to a friend the day Casey was rearrested. She says she'd do anything for the family, but that she was done with Casey. She says they were once close, but that now Casey is crazy.
Okay, Cheryl, thanks.